Let me leave you with some professional guidance and advice. Firstly, for those homeowners who are looking at the market wanting to list their home, but are somewhat reluctant because they don't want to lose their 3% mortgage rate. Now, I'm going to preempt this by saying that I'm not sharing the story with you to impress you, but to impress upon you the importance of planning and strategizing with an experienced and accomplished realtor with a great track record of success. I say this to my real estate clients all the time. There are around 3,600 real estate agents in Grand Rapids alone. Finding a real estate agent is as easy as falling off a log. However, finding a good real estate agent, well, it's a whole nother story. You might be interested to know that 93% of the real estate business is done by a mere 7% of the agents out there. Think about that. That means that a whopping 93% of agents are sharing in a minute amount of the business that's left. And that's only 7% of the real estate transactions. A lot of real estate agents are making less than they otherwise would by flipping burgers. Having said that, it's also a factual statistic that of those sellers with no previous agent or those not happy with their previous agent, 80% of home sellers list their home with the first agent they interview. Now consider this. Those that list with the first agent through the door stand a 93% chance of listing their home with an agent whose track record of success is at best questionable. So, here's the story I'm going to share with you. Last year, I was able to sell one of my listings for $111,000 over list price. That financial achievement wasn't a fluke or by accident. It was a planned strategy. My clients had only bought the house 11 months earlier, but because of a career relocation, they needed to turn around and sell the home they purchased less than a year ago. I did represent them as buyers for this home at that time, and we negotiated what was a very favorable purchase price. They bought the home for $760,000. 11 months later, after analyzing and thoroughly researching the market to pinpoint current market value, my professional opinion indicated the home was now worth around $867,000. Extraordinary appreciation. A good agent's job is to be able to effectively read the market from a position of in-depth knowledge, coupled with a solid expert research, and that takes experience. At that time, we were in an exceptionally hot seller's market, as we are now. There are different market-driven strategies an agent can implement. The traditional way to price a property is to determine current market value and price the home a little above market value. There are other pricing strategies, but for expediency, I'll jump straight to the strategy I recommended to my seller clients. I urged them to underprice the property at $829,000. I also disclosed to them there were possible risks involved which could potentially cause the house to sell for less than the current market value of $867,000. That strategy to price at $829,000 would drive high buyer demand, secondly, affect a high number of showings, and thirdly, our goal was to generate multiple offers to escalate the sales price. All objectives were achieved. We had approximately 30 showings in 3 days and produced 5 offers, all well over list price, one of which was as high as $980,000, which was $151,000 above list price. Oddly enough, my professional guidance and advice to my clients was not to accept the $980,000 offer, but instead go with the next offer of $940,000. Now, your reaction in hearing the story is obviously, "Are you crazy?" Here's the reason. There was a caveat on the higher offer which indicated to me that the offer was somewhat shaky. There was also no way that the property would appraise at $980,000, and unless the buyer was willing to guarantee to cover what's called the appraisal gap, the difference between where the buyer's lender's appraiser would appraise the property and what the buyer was offering, the deal would simply fall apart. In other words, if the buyer wasn't willing to come up with the cash to cover that price versus value shortfall, there could be no deal. Let's say the bank's appraiser valued the property at $900,000, and the bank's loan-to-value ratio was 80%. That means the bank would fund 80% of $900,000, which is $720,000. The buyer would therefore have to come up with $260,000 to bring to close, and for most people, that's prohibitive. On the other hand, the agent representing the $940,000 buyers was a long-established, highly professional agent who knew her stuff, and the offer was put together with an incredibly impressive and compelling strategy. It was clearly the most attractive offer. So, the house sold for $111,000 above list price, and those buyers were willing to come up with the shortfall between appraised value and the purchase price. The house escalated in value by $180,000 in just 11 months, which represents 24% appreciation. To give you a comparative insight into property appreciation in Grand Rapids in a traditional market, in that price range, it's typical to see annual appreciation of between 2 and 4%. So 24% appreciation in just 11 months is staggering. So here's the moral of the story. Don't be one of the 80% of sellers without a pre-existing agent relationship who fall into the trap of grabbing the first agent through the door. The presumption being that all agents are the same. Nothing could be further from the truth. Generally, your home is the biggest investment of your entire life. Doesn't it make sense to make sure you take the time to interview more than one agent and check their personal credentials and track record of success? I would suggest it will represent a valuable use of your time and quite probably put more money in your pocket from the net proceeds in the sale of your home. The wisdom in following that advice is all about high return on your investment. And by the way, the same goes for buyers. Make sure you appoint an agent to represent you that genuinely and sincerely represents your best interests in the achievement of both your real estate and financial goals. Well, that's our show. Thank you so much for watching the West Michigan Real Estate and Home Show. I hope you found the time we've spent together worthwhile. Let me leave you with some gorgeous spring flowers. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time.